parents demanded I pay for my brother's tuition. Because I have a good job, I refused. They called me selfish. I sent them an itemized bill for everything I've paid for over the last 10 years. The total was $150,000. They went silent. Hey Reddit. So I just torpedoed my relationship with my parents by doing something I probably should have done years ago. They demanded I pay for my younger brother's college tuition because I supposedly have a good job and can afford it. I said no. They called me selfish and ungrateful. So I sent them an itemized spreadsheet of every single thing I've paid for over the last decade. The total came to $150,000. They haven't spoken to me in 3 weeks. Let me back up and give you the full picture of how messed up my family dynamic has been since basically forever. I'm 32 now. My brother Austin is 24. The age gap meant we were never super close growing up, but I didn't think much of it as a kid. What I didn't realize until I got older was that those 8 years between us meant I was basically the test-run child. You know how first kids get all the strict rules and high expectations? Yeah, that was me. Austin got to be the baby who could do no wrong. When I was in high school, I had a 10 p.m. curfew on weekends. Had to maintain a 3.5 GPA minimum or lose car privileges. Was expected to work part-time to pay for gas, insurance, and anything I wanted beyond basic necessities. My parents' philosophy was that hard work builds character, and boy did they make sure I had plenty of character-building opportunities. Austin? Dude had a midnight curfew starting at age 15. No GPA requirements. Never had to work a single day in high school because my parents said he needed to focus on being a kid and enjoying his youth. The same youth I apparently wasn't entitled to enjoy. But it wasn't just the different rules that got to me. It was the constant expectation that I would step up and be the responsible one. The safety net. The backup plan for everything. I went to state college on a partial academic scholarship that covered about 60% of my tuition. The rest I had to figure out myself through a combination of loans and working. Lived in the dorms freshman year because it was required, sharing a tiny room with a guy who thought personal hygiene was optional. Then I moved into a cheap apartment with 3 roommates to save money. The place was a dump. Peeling linoleum, a shower that only produced lukewarm water on good days, and neighbors who apparently thought 2 a.m. was prime party time. But it was $350 a month including utilities. So I made it work. I worked 25 to 30 hours a week at the campus bookstore while taking a full course load. My schedule was insane. Classes from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. most days, then straight to the bookstore until 9 or 10 p.m. Weekends were for studying and picking up extra shifts when I could. My social life consisted of occasional study groups and maybe grabbing fast food with roommates between shifts. Graduated in 4 years with a degree in accounting, about $28,000 in student loans, and exactly zero help from my parents beyond occasionally letting me raid their pantry when I visited home. Every time I came home, usually for major holidays because I couldn't afford to visit more often, my mom would load me up with non-perishable food items, like I was a college care package charity case. Which I appreciated, don't get me wrong, but it was always accompanied by comments about how Austin was doing in school and how proud they were that he was finding himself. My graduation gift? A card with $100 in it and a pat on the back. My dad's exact words were, "Proud of you, son. Now go make something of yourself." Cool. Thanks for the inspirational poster quote, Dad. Meanwhile, Austin got a $2,000 graduation gift for finishing high school with his 2.8 GPA. They bought him a new laptop and paid for a summer trip to California with his friends. When I pointed out the discrepancy, my mom said college graduation and high school graduation were different things, and I was being petty. I got hired at a mid-size accounting firm about 3 weeks after graduation. Started at $52,000 a year, which felt like winning the lottery after years of surviving on ramen and whatever food the bookstore was about to throw out. Wasn't flashy, wasn't fancy, but it was stable, and it was mine. Here's where things started getting weird. About 6 months into my first real job, my parents called asking if I could loan them $3,000. Their water heater died, and they needed a new one, ASAP. They promised they'd pay me back within 3 months. My dad even said, "We'll pay you interest, make it worth your while." I was young and stupid, and wanted to be a good son. Wanted to prove I was doing well, that their sacrifices raising me had paid off. So I transferred the money that same day. Guess how much of that $3,000 I ever saw again? $0 and 0 cents. Every time I brought it up, it was, "We're a little tight this month," or "We'll get you next month for sure," or my personal favorite, "Are you really going to nickel and dime your own parents?" Eventually, I just stopped asking, because the guilt trip wasn't worth the hassle. The interest my dad mentioned? Never heard about that again either. That should have been my first red flag. But nope, I kept being the good son. Over the next few years, the requests kept coming with increasing frequency and creative reasoning. Can you help with the property taxes? Your father's bonus was smaller than expected this year. Can you chip in for new tires for the family car? We just can't swing it right now. Can you cover the vet bill because the dog needs surgery? He's part of the family, and we can't just let him suffer. Each request came with its own story, its own justification, its own promise that this would be the last time. It was always framed as family helping family, always with the implication that I owed them for raising me, feeding me, putting a roof over my head for 18 years, and always with promises of being paid back that never materialized. The amounts varied. Sometimes it was $500 for car repairs, sometimes it was $5,000 for a new HVAC system, but the pattern was always the same. And here's the thing, I didn't mind helping. Not at first. They were my parents. They'd raised me. If they needed help, of course I'd step up. But it was the lack of appreciation, the lack of acknowledgement, and the complete absence of reciprocation that started to wear on me. Meanwhile, Austin was coasting through his late teens and early 20s like life was one extended summer vacation. The kid had no idea what he wanted to do with his life, never held a job, and spent most of his time playing video games and hanging out with his friends. My parents thought this was perfectly fine. He's still figuring himself out, they'd say. Not everyone is like you. Not everyone has it all planned out. He needs time to find his passion. No kidding. Some people actually get to be kids. Some people get to explore and make mistakes without having to worry about rent or student loans or whether they can afford to eat out this month. When Austin finally graduated high school at 19, he'd failed a couple classes and had to make them up in summer school. He decided he wanted to go to community college. Fine, whatever. Community college is cheap and a smart financial move. Good stepping stone to a 4-year school if he figured out what he wanted to do. Except Austin didn't want to work while going to community college. He wanted to focus on his studies and his social life. He needed to discover himself, explore his interests, figure out who he really was. So my parents covered his tuition, his books, his gas money, his spending money, everything. He lived at home rent-free with zero expenses. Meanwhile, I was 26, still paying off my student loans, still living in a small apartment, still driving the same beat-up Honda Civic I bought junior year of college. But hey, at least I had character. Around this time, I got a promotion at work. My salary jumped to $68,000. I was pumped. Finally felt like I was making real progress. Finally started to see a light at the end of the student loan tunnel. My mom called 3 days after I told them about my promotion. That's wonderful, honey. We're so proud of you. Hey, I wanted to ask you something. Your father and I are thinking about redoing the kitchen. We were wondering if you'd be willing to help us out with the costs since you just got that big raise. I asked how much they needed. She said they were looking at a $15,000 renovation. New cabinets, new countertops, new appliances, the works. They wanted me to contribute $7,000. I actually said yes. I know. But they sold it as an investment in the family home. Said when they eventually sold the house, they'd give me back my contribution plus interest. Sounded reasonable at the time. Spoiler alert, it was not reasonable. I paid the $7,000 in 3 installments over 2 months. The kitchen looks great, by the way. Really ties the room together. Haven't seen a single cent of that money back. This pattern continued for years. Need help with home repairs? Call the responsible son. Car breaks down? Call the responsible son. Property taxes due? You know who they called. And every single time, Austin was mysteriously exempt from these family obligations. He's still in school, they'd say. Then when he finished his associate's degree, it was, he's just starting out. He needs time to get on his feet. Then when he finally got a job as a pharmacy technician, making $32,000 a year, it became, he doesn't make as much as you. It wouldn't be fair to ask him. I kept a mental tally of all this stuff, but never really added it up. Seemed too depressing. I just kept telling myself I was being a good son, helping out my family, doing the right thing. That's what you're supposed to do, right? Meanwhile, my own life was on hold. I wanted to buy a house but couldn't save enough for a down payment, because every time I got close, another family emergency would drain my savings. I wanted to travel, but couldn't justify the expense when my parents might need help with something. I watched my friends get married, buy homes, start families, while I was stuck in this weird limbo of being financially stable on paper, but actually broke in practice. Austin, on the other hand, was living his best life, still at home, still paying zero rent, still having his laundry done and his meals cooked. He worked his pharmacy tech job and spent his entire paycheck on whatever he wanted. New gaming console? Sure. Weekend trips with friends? Why not? The latest smartphone every year? Absolutely. When I was 30, I finally got serious about buying a house. I'd been with the firm for 8 years, was making $82,000 a year, and I was done throwing money away on rent. I buckled down, stopped saying yes to every family request, and saved aggressively for 18 months. My parents were not thrilled about my new boundaries. When my dad's truck needed new brakes, and I said I couldn't help because I was saving for a house, he hit me with, "After everything we've sacrificed for you, you can't help us out?" When my mom asked me to chip in for a new fence and I declined, she went silent for a week and then sent me a long text about how family is supposed to support each other. But I stuck to my guns. I had to. I was 30 years old and had nothing to show for a decade of working. No house, no significant savings, nothing. Just a decent salary that evaporated every month into other people's problems. I bought my house in March 2 years ago. Small 3-bedroom ranch, needed some work, but it was mine. I'd never felt more proud of anything in my life. My parents came to the housewarming and my dad spent the whole time pointing out everything that needed to be fixed or updated. Real supportive stuff. Austin didn't even show up. Said he had plans with friends. About 6 months after I bought my house, Austin announced he wanted to go back to school. He'd decided being a pharmacy tech wasn't his passion. He wanted to become a physician assistant. Needed to get a bachelor's degree first, then apply to PA school. My parents thought this was amazing. Their baby boy was finally finding his path, finally getting serious about his future. They were so proud. Here's the thing about PA school. It's expensive. And the bachelor's degree he'd need first? Also expensive. Even at a state school, we're talking $25,000 to $30,000 a year for tuition and fees alone. Add in books, housing, food, and everything else. You're looking at close to $40,000 annually. Austin had exactly zero money saved. He'd been working for 3 years and had nothing in the bank. My parents had some savings, but not enough to cover 4 years of undergrad plus 2 years of PA school. I knew where this was heading. I could see the train coming from a mile away. Sure enough, about 2 weeks after Austin's big announcement, my parents invited me over for dinner. They made my favorite meal, pot roast with all the fixings. They were extra nice, extra interested in my life and my job. I knew something was up. People don't just randomly make pot roast on a Tuesday. After dinner, we sat in the living room and my dad cleared his throat, in that way he does when he's about to ask for something big. Son, we wanted to talk to you about Austin's plans for school. Here we go. We're so proud of him for wanting to further his education. Becoming a PA is a wonderful career path. The thing is, it's going to be expensive. I just nodded and waited. I wanted to hear them actually say it. Your mother and I can cover maybe the first year, but after that we're going to need some help. We were hoping, since you're doing so well financially, you might be willing to contribute to Austin's education. I took a sip of my coffee, just to buy time. Contribute how much? My mom jumped in. Well, we were thinking maybe you could cover half of his tuition each year? That would be about $12,000 to $15,000 annually. We know it's a lot, but you're in such a good place right now, and Austin really needs this opportunity. I did some quick math in my head. 4 years of undergrad at $15,000 per year is $60,000. That's not even counting if they'd expect me to keep paying when he went to PA school. So you want me to pay $60,000 for Austin's bachelor's degree? I said flatly. It's not like you'd have to pay it all at once, my dad said quickly. Just semester by semester. And think of it as an investment in your brother's future. When he's making good money as a PA, he can pay you back. There it was again. The promise of being paid back. The same promise I'd heard 100 times before and never seen fulfilled. And what is Austin contributing to his own education? I asked. They both looked confused, like that was a weird question. Well, he'll be focused on his studies, my mom said. He can't work full-time and go to school full-time. That wouldn't be fair to him. I worked 25 to 30 hours a week while getting my degree, I pointed out. That was different, my dad said. You were always more academically inclined. School came easier to you. Austin is going to have to work harder, so he needs to be able to focus. The mental gymnastics were Olympic level. Is Austin planning to take out any student loans? I asked. We don't want him graduating with debt, my mom said firmly. Student loans are such a burden. Look how long it took you to pay yours off. Right, because I was paying them off while simultaneously funding everyone else's lives. I sat there for a minute, just processing the absolute audacity of what they were asking. They wanted me to hand over $60,000 so my 24-year-old brother could go to college without working or taking loans. The same brother who'd never contributed a dime to any family expense, who'd lived rent-free his entire life, who'd had everything handed to him on a silver platter. I need to think about it, I finally said. My mom's face lit up. Of course. We're not asking for an answer right now. Just think about it and let us know. I went home that night and I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about everything I'd sacrificed, everything I'd given up, all the years of being the responsible one and the reliable one and the one who always came through for the family. And then I started thinking about actual numbers. How much had I really given them over the years? I spent the entire next day going through my bank records, credit card statements, old emails, everything. I made a spreadsheet. I categorized every expense. I was meticulous as heck because that's what accountants do. The water heater, $3,000. The kitchen renovation, $7,000. Property taxes I helped with, $4,200 across 3 different years. The car repairs, $2,800. The roof leak, $5,500. The fence, $3,200. The HVAC repair, $4,000. My dad's dental work that insurance didn't cover, $2,400. The new washer and dryer, $1,800. Helped with mortgage payments during my dad's brief unemployment, $6,000 across 4 months. And that was just the big stuff. Then, there were all the small things. Groceries I bought when I visited, birthday and Christmas gifts that were always way more expensive than what I received. The times I paid for family dinners. The airline ticket I bought my mom when her sister was sick. The pet deposit I covered when they wanted to adopt a second dog. It took me 3 days to compile everything, cross-reference it with my records, and make sure I wasn't inflating or missing anything. I was conservative with my estimates. If I wasn't 100% sure about an amount, I didn't include it. The final total, $147,832. Over 10 years, I had given my parents nearly $150,000. Money that I earned, that I saved, that I could have used to pay off my student loans faster, to invest, to travel, to live my life. I sat there staring at that number for a solid 20 minutes. I felt sick. I felt angry. I felt like the biggest sucker on planet Earth. But more than anything, I felt done. Completely and totally done. I spent the next week putting together a professional-looking document. Added a cover page, a summary, a detailed breakdown by category and year. Made it look like the kind of financial report I'd present to a client. Because if they wanted to treat this like a business transaction, I'd treat it like a business transaction. Then, I got another call from my mom. She wanted to know if I'd thought about their request regarding Austin's tuition. Actually, I have, I said. Can we meet for coffee this weekend? I want to go over some financial stuff with you and Dad. She sounded so happy, probably thought I was going to say yes to funding Austin's education. Of course, honey. Saturday morning work for you? We met at a cafe near their house. I brought my laptop and a printed copy of my spreadsheet. They showed up looking relaxed and optimistic, probably already mentally spending my money. We ordered coffee and sat down. My dad asked how work was going. We made small talk for a few minutes. Then he said, "So, about Austin's schooling." "Yeah, I've been giving it a lot of thought," I said. I opened my laptop and pulled up the spreadsheet. But before we talk about future expenses, I wanted to go over past expenses. I turned the laptop around so they could see the screen. This is a complete itemization of every financial contribution I've made to this family over the last 10 years. My mom's smile faltered a bit. "What is this?" "It's a record," I said calmly. "Every time you asked me to help with something, every time I paid for something, every time I contributed financially to this household in any way." My dad frowned. "Why would you make something like this?" "Because you keep asking me for money, and I wanted to see how much I've actually given you over the years." I walked them through the spreadsheet, category by category, year by year. Watched their faces change from confused to uncomfortable to defensive as the numbers kept adding up. There was the $3,000 water heater from year 1 that was supposed to be repaid in 3 months. The $7,000 kitchen renovation from year 2 that was supposed to be repaid when they sold the house. The $4,200 in property tax help spread across 3 different years, when my dad's work bonuses were smaller than expected. The $2,800 in car repairs for my mom's SUV when the transmission started failing. The $5,500 roof leak repair that happened during a bad storm. The $3,200 fence replacement after a tree fell on the old one. The $4,000 HVAC repair when their air conditioning died in the middle of a heat wave. Then there were the medium-sized expenses. $2,400 for my dad's dental work that insurance didn't cover because he needed crowns. The $1,800 washer and dryer set when their old ones finally died. The $6,000 I contributed to mortgage payments across 4 months when my dad was briefly unemployed between jobs. The $1,200 for my mom's medical bills after she had some tests done. The $900 for various appliance repairs over the years. And finally, all the small stuff that added up. Probably $3,000 in groceries I bought when I visited, because they were tight on money. Birthday and Christmas gifts that were always significantly more expensive than what I received. Easily $4,000 over 10 years. The times I paid for family dinners because someone forgot their wallet or money was tight. Another $1,500. The $800 airline ticket I bought my mom when her sister was sick, and she needed to fly out to see her on short notice. The $400 pet deposit I covered when they wanted to adopt a second dog from the shelter. I'd even included smaller things they'd probably forgotten about. The $200 I gave them when they were short on groceries 1 month. The $150 for emergency vet visit when their dog ate something he shouldn't have. The $300 for the plumber when their toilet backed up and flooded the bathroom. Every single expense was documented with the date, the amount, and what it was for. Conservative estimates on everything. If I wasn't 100% certain about an amount, I'd lowballed it or left it out entirely. "Now, I know you've always said you'd pay me back," I continued, keeping my voice level and calm. "But in 10 years, I haven't received a single dollar in repayment for any of this. Not 1 cent. The water heater was supposed to be repaid in 3 months. That was almost 10 years ago. The kitchen renovation, you said you'd reimburse me when you sold the house. That note you signed promising to pay me back with interest? Haven't heard a word about it since. Several of these other expenses came with similar promises of repayment. So before we discuss me contributing another $60,000 minimum for Austin's education, I think we need to address this existing debt." My mom's face was red. "Those weren't loans. That was you helping your family. You specifically called the water heater a loan," I said. "You said you'd pay me back in 3 months. That was 10 years ago. The kitchen renovation, you said you'd reimburse me when you sold the house. Several of these other expenses, you promised repayment. We never asked you to keep track of every little thing," my dad said. And he sounded angry now. "These aren't little things, Dad. This is $147,832. That's not pocket change. That's a down payment on a house. That's a new car. That's my retirement fund. That's my life. Family helps family," my mom said, her voice shaking. "We raised you, we fed you, we clothed you for 18 years. This is how families work." "You're right," I agreed. "You raised me for 18 years. And I've spent the last 10 years paying you back for that. Plus interest, apparently. But here's the thing. I didn't raise Austin. You did. He's your son, not mine. His education is not my financial responsibility. He's your brother," my dad said. "He's your son," I repeated. "And unlike me, He's never contributed a single dollar to this family. He's never helped with repairs or bills or emergencies. He's lived rent-free for 24 years. He's had everything handed to him. So why exactly should I fund his education when he won't even fund his own? Because you can afford it and we can't, my mom said, and now she was crying. Great. The tears, right on schedule. I can't afford it either, I said. I make good money, yes. But I also have a mortgage, bills, my own student loans that I just finished paying off last year, and a life I'd like to actually live at some point. I can't keep being the family bank. So you're just going to abandon your brother? My dad asked. Leave him with no options for school? He has options, I said. He can take out student loans like I did. He can work part-time while going to school like I did. He can go to a cheaper school. He can apply for scholarships and grants. He has plenty of options. They just all require him to actually put in some effort and make some sacrifices. This is incredibly selfish, my mom said, and that's when I lost my patience. Selfish? I repeated. I've given you nearly $150,000 over the last decade. I've sacrificed vacations, experiences, my own financial security to help this family. I've said yes to every request, every emergency, every crisis. I've been the reliable one, the responsible one, the one you can always count on to come through. And now, when I finally say no to something, when I finally set a boundary, I'm selfish? I closed my laptop. You want to know what's selfish? Asking your son to fund his brother's education when you've never once acknowledged or repaid the massive amount of money he's already given you. Expecting me to sacrifice more of my life and my future for a brother who's never had to sacrifice anything. Calling me selfish for finally, after 10 years, putting my own financial well-being first. I stood up. I'm not paying for Austin's school. He's an adult. You're his parents. Figure it out without me. My mom was full-on crying now. How can you be so cruel? I'm not being cruel. I'm being realistic. I'm done being the family ATM. I'm done sacrificing my life for people who won't even acknowledge those sacrifices. My dad stood up too. If you walk away from this family, don't expect us to be here when you need something. I actually laughed at that. When have I ever needed something from you? When have you ever helped me with anything? I bought my house by myself. I paid for my education by myself. I've built my entire life by myself while simultaneously funding yours. So yeah, I think I'll be just fine without your help. I left the cafe. Didn't look back. Felt weirdly calm. That was 3 weeks ago. They've called a few times. Left voicemails. My mom's messages started out angry, then became sad and guilt-trippy, and now she's back to angry. My dad's been mostly silent except for one text that said, "Your mother is heartbroken. Hope you're happy." Austin sent me one message. "Can't believe you do this to me, bro. Thought you had my back. You know how important this is to me. Guess money means more to you than family." I stared at that message for a solid 5 minutes. The audacity was actually impressive. This kid who'd never worked for anything, never contributed anything, never made a single sacrifice, was lecturing me about family and priorities. I typed out about 6 different responses and deleted them all. Finally settled on nothing. Radio silence seemed like the most appropriate response. I didn't respond to any of them. Not my parents, not Austin, none of it. Blocked their numbers for a few days just to give myself some peace and space to think without the constant barrage of guilt-trip texts and voicemails. Here's the thing. I don't feel guilty. I thought I would. I thought I'd be drowning in guilt and regret. But instead, I feel lighter than I have in years. I feel free. I ran the numbers on what I'll save by not contributing to Austin's education. $60,000 over 4 years minimum. That's not even counting if they would have expected me to pay for PA school too. That's money I can put toward my retirement, my future, maybe even a vacation to somewhere I've always wanted to go. Some of my friends think I did the right thing. Others think I should have at least helped out a little bit, that I was too harsh. My girlfriend says she's proud of me for standing up for myself, but wishes I'd had this conversation with my parents years ago. My coworker asked if I showed them the spreadsheet to hurt them or to make a point. Honest answer? Both. I wanted them to see in black and white what they'd been asking of me all these years. I wanted them to confront the actual numbers instead of just vaguely thinking, "Oh, he helps out sometimes." Part of me wonders if I should have handled it differently. Been less confrontational maybe? Broken it to them gently. But then I remember every time I tried to set a boundary and they bulldozed right through it. Every time I tried to say no and they guilted me into yes. Every time I sacrificed something I wanted because they needed something. I spent 10 years being gentle, being understanding, being the bigger person. And all it got me was $150,000 poorer and a family that viewed me as a resource rather than a person. The weirdest part is how many things in my life have suddenly become possible now that I'm not constantly hemorrhaging money to family emergencies. I booked a trip to Iceland in January. I've been wanting to go for years, but could never justify the cost. Now I can. I started contributing more to my retirement fund. I'm looking at buying a newer car. None of these things are extravagant or crazy. They're just normal things that normal 32-year-olds do with their money, but I couldn't do them before because I was too busy funding everyone else's life. My girlfriend asked me last night if I think my parents will ever actually acknowledge what I've done for them over the years. Honest answer? Probably not. People don't like confronting the fact that they've been taking advantage of someone, even unintentionally. It's easier to frame me as the selfish son who abandoned his family than to admit they've been bleeding me dry for a decade. Austin will figure out his education. He'll take out loans or find a cheaper school or maybe even get a job and save up. He'll be fine. He's 24. He has time. And honestly, having to work for something might be the best thing that ever happens to him. Lord knows having everything handed to him hasn't done him any favors. As for my parents, I don't know if we'll ever get past this. Part of me hopes we can eventually have a relationship that's based on mutual respect rather than financial obligation. But if that doesn't happen, I've made my peace with it. I spent 10 years being the person they wanted me to be. The responsible son, the reliable brother, the family safety net. And it cost me $150,000 and a decade of my life. I'm done being that person. From now on, I'm just going to be me. And if that makes me selfish in their eyes, so be it. I'll be selfish all the way to Iceland. Update. Since I posted this, I've gotten a lot of messages asking what happened next. So here's how this played out. 3 days of silence. Then my Aunt Carol called, my mom's sister. We're not super close, but she's always been straight with me. Your mother called me crying, said you're refusing to help Austin and threw some financial records in their faces. I want to hear your side. I told her everything. The 10 years of requests, the broken promises, the $150,000 total. Even sent her the spreadsheet. Long silence on her end. Then, I had no idea it was that extreme. Your mom always made it sound like you helped occasionally, not that you were funding their entire life. Turns out Carol had dealt with similar requests from my parents for years. She'd started saying no about 5 years back. They moved on to you when I set boundaries, she said. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. Austin's 24th. He can figure out school like everyone else. That actually helped. At least one family member wasn't completely delusional. Then yesterday, my dad showed up at my office. No warning. Just walked into the lobby during lunch like he owned the place. My coworker gave me a heads up and I found him sitting there looking pissed. We need to talk. I'm at work, Dad. You blocked our numbers. Won't return calls. Your mother's devastated. I could see my coworkers watching. Great. 5 minutes. Conference room. We went in and he didn't waste time. This spreadsheet is insane. You're treating family like a business. You asked for money like a business. Made repayment promises like a business. I just documented it like one. We're your parents. We shouldn't have to justify asking for help. And I shouldn't have to justify saying no after $150,000. His face went red. You offered most of the time. After you guilted me. After you made it clear saying no meant I was a bad son. After you promised you'd pay me back. He slammed his hand on the conference table. A couple people walking by the glass walls looked in. Things got tight. We couldn't pay you back. You think we wanted to keep asking you for money? You think that was easy for us? I think it was a lot easier than you're making it sound. Because if it was really that hard, you would have found ways to cut back. You would have told Austin to get a job. You would have said no to some of his expenses. But you didn't. He's our son too. Right. And apparently my job is to fund both of you while building my own life from scratch. That makes total sense. What was I supposed to do? Tell him he can't go to college because we're broke? Tell him he needs to work for it. Tell him loans are an option. Tell him the same things you told me when I went to school. You know, the things you're supposed to tell adult children. He stood there, jaw clenched. I could see him trying to come up with a counter-argument. You make good money. This isn't a hardship for you. Making good money doesn't mean I have unlimited funds. It doesn't mean my money is communal property. I worked for every dollar I've given you. Worked while Austin slept in until noon and played games all evening. You're really going to throw his lifestyle in our faces? I'm throwing the double standard in your face. When I was his age, I was working 30 hours a week and going to school full-time. Now I'm 32, and still expected to fund everyone else while he coasts through life. Austin's struggling. Austin's comfortable. Big difference. He struggles with having to actually work, having to make sacrifices, having to delay gratification. Those aren't real struggles. Those are normal parts of being an adult. You used to be more understanding. I used to be more naive. I used to think if I just helped out one more time, you'd stop asking. That if I was the good son, eventually you'd appreciate it. 10 years and $150,000 later, I finally figured out that was never going to happen. Dad stared at me like I'd become a stranger. Your mother's been crying every night since you showed us that spreadsheet. Maybe she should have cried when she realized how much I'd been giving. Maybe tears before asking for more money would have been appropriate. You've become cold. I've become realistic. Austin's giving up PA school because of you, he finally said. He's going to work for it like I did. Loans exist. Jobs exist. He just doesn't want to use them because you never made him work for anything. You're really not helping him. I'm really not. He stood up. Don't expect us at your wedding, or when you have kids, or when you need anything. I laughed. Couldn't help it. Dad, I'm 32. Bought a house without you. Built a career without you. I've done everything without your help. I'll be fine. He walked out without another word. My boss asked later if everything was okay. I said family dispute and left it at that. That night, Austin called from a different number. I was dumb enough to answer. You happy now? Mom's crying. Dad's furious. Everyone thinks you're an asshole. Everyone being you three? Because Aunt Carol thinks I did the right thing. Dead silence. He didn't know I'd talk to her. Wait, you talked to Aunt Carol? She called me. Wanted to hear my side after Mom called her sobbing. Funny thing, Carol's been dealing with the same request from them for years. She cut them off 5 years ago. They just moved down the family tree to me when she started saying no. That's not the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. They find someone with money and bleed them dry until that person sets boundaries. Then they move to the next target. You're just mad because you're finally feeling the consequences of their financial decisions. This isn't about them. This is about you refusing to help your own brother. You want PA school? Take out loans? Get a job? Do what normal people do? I worked through college while you sat at home playing video games. Time to join the real world. School's more expensive now. Jobs don't pay enough. It's not the same. School was expensive for me too. Jobs didn't pay great then either. I made it work because I had to. You've never had to make anything work, because someone always fixed it for you. You're really going to let me fail because you're bitter about working in college? I'm not letting you fail. I'm letting you succeed on your own terms using your own effort. Big difference. This is messed up. I'm your brother. And you're 24. Figure it out. Whatever, man. Don't come crawling back when you realize you screwed up. Not planning on it. I hung up and blocked that number too. This morning I got an email from my mom. Long guilt trip about how she raised me better. How disappointed she is. Ended with, I hope you can live with yourself. I deleted it. Took myself to that fancy breakfast place downtown. Got the full spread for $40. Didn't think twice.